Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and in some cases, good night, folks. I've got a very special guest, none other than Adrian Clarke. How you doing, my friend? Everything all
Hello.
right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, thanks for the invite. Yeah, all good. All good. I'm quite enjoying the summer so far, but like every gooner out there, we're waiting. We're waiting. We're being as patient as we can, but wouldn't mind a couple getting over the line.
You said it there, man. You said it there. I mean, patience is an understatement where Arsenal's concerned, and we're all excited in this where the summer's concerned. It's good for you because we was talking just before we started recording. You finally get a bit of downtime and simply put a bit of time to breathe, man. Because you're doing a lot everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. Like, I'm not going to complain because my job is to talk about football, to write about football, to watch football. So
It's a
like
dream.
I am very lucky, but so I'm not going to moan about it. But yeah, it's pretty relentless during the season. So yeah, June and the first bit of July is a nice time to sort of chill out a little bit and not work as hard. So yeah, so I'm nice and refreshed for what's to come, which is hopefully an exciting season. Yeah.
Hopefully, and it ends with a trophy parade in Islington. Just
Yeah.
out of interest for the viewers, because you kind of alluded to it. When does it start to, like, in your role? When does it start to pick up? Is it just simply August and so on and beyond, or is it like end of July?
Yeah, pre-season games, like so. Hopefully, I
Exactly.
don't know for sure yet, but hopefully, I'll be involved in some of them. I still do writing for the Premier League during the summer. Host another podcast, a sports podcast. Do a bit of handbrake off. The Arsenal podcast.
Yeah, very good podcast.
That's been continuing a little bit during the summer, but yeah, it'll ramp up when the games start. When the game starts, so it's exciting, really. But I'm hoping to launch my own YouTube channel this summer, actually.
It's
So.
overdue, man. You need that.
So I'm going to try and do that after I get back from holiday, late July. So look out for it. Yeah.
When that comes out, let me know. I'll plaster that all over my socials, man, and we'll get you the subscribers in, man. It's
Yeah.
overdue, man. It's only right that you have a central kind of hub. I want
Yeah.
to ask you something, yeah, before and it really is accelerating things, but this is really just a question that was born out of my group chat. Of course, the transfer window's not done. Neither of us is a prediction teller. We don't know how the next season's going to pan out. But when you look at the fact that Liverpool have won the Premier League and Manchester City are expected to hit back, where do you rank us? Are we second favorites, third favorites, first favorites? Like, where would you go to?
It's a good question. It really is. It sounds ridiculous, but I really didn't think we were any worse than Liverpool last year. Really, like I know that they won the league, by a healthy margin, but I think our best team v their best team wasn't much in it. We got our answer to that question at the end of the transfer window. Really,
Exactly.
at the moment, if you look at the odds, I think most have Liverpool as favourites, us as second, City as third. But I have seen some where we're third favourites. I don't see that as the pecking order. I really don't. I think once our business is done, I would give us I actually think, probably hand on heart, I think this is going to be a very difficult one to call. I almost would put us all level pegging at the start of the season. Liverpool, Arsenal, City. Yes, Liverpool signed some great players. We know that. But Arsenal are going to sign some really good players. I'm very confident of that. And look, there wasn't a lot wrong. If you're looking at the benchmark, okay, and the benchmark right now, PSG, okay, and in that tie, we created a ridiculous amount of chances.
What could have been.
Could have scored 6, 7, 8 goals across those 2 games.
Facts.
That is a fact, and we outplayed them for long periods at the Parc des Princes. So they're the European champions, deservedly so. We were not far off them. So I say that we have to be considered, joint favourites to win the Premier League. Simple as that.
I mean, people don't want to hear it, and it's not that it's anything to necessarily celebrate, but the fact that 3 years in a row, when it's all said and done, we finished second, it's fair to assume that, again, it's nothing to celebrate, but we've been the second best team in the Premier League on a consistent basis. So we're closer to achieving our goal, which in this case would be the Premier League, then we are obviously, falling off a cliff. It's just about the transfer window, and I guess Mikel Arteta and the players evolving. And I just think, for me, I think we win a lot of battles. Our top 6 record is there. You mentioned PSG. Obviously, we didn't win the Champions League, but we don't get embarrassed. Like, we give it a good fight. It's just about taking what we're good at and making it great, and obviously the areas of improvement. So that piggybanks great onto my second question.
Yeah.
What would you say you learned last season about Arsenal, if anything?
Well, luck plays a big part in it, so you don't want, you can't analyze that, and it's one of those sort of things that that people will scoff at and say, you're moaning about bad luck and ill fortune. But Arsenal didn't really get a lot of luck, particularly early in the season, injuries and the red card decisions and whatnot. So, but we have to park that. We learned what we knew already, and that was that we needed a prolific goal scorer at the top end of the pitch. We needed a finisher because, in every other part of the field, or almost every other part of the field, we function pretty well.
Exactly.
We did dominate games. We were strong. We were incredibly hard to create chances against, to score against. But even though we probably weren't quite as creative as we needed to be, and I would say a lot of that was down to injuries for Odegaard and Saka, and them coming back and not being quite in the flow that they have been in previous seasons. So, yeah, I think the obvious thing is we need someone to get on the end of chances. We need someone to penalty box player that's going to convert the opportunities that we create, which are always plenty. I did think that at times we gifted up some more soft goals. The season just gone. That was disappointing. So we can definitely improve in that area, but a lot of that I do put down to disruption as well, and the fact that we very rarely were able to put out what we would consider our strongest side. So yeah, look, it was look, with all that, with a lot of things going against us, with 3 or 4 of our key players out for lengthy spells, we still finished second. We still got to the Champions League semi-final. So yeah, we want better, we want more. But I actually feel that a lot of sides, if they'd have suffered the kind of disruption that we had,
they would have fallen off.
Yeah, probably might have struggled to make Champions League. So, yeah, it was an okay season, but we all know what we're capable of, and we're capable of a little bit more.
And you said it there, it's just a mixed bag in that when it's all said and done, with the injuries, with the apparent pressure on the manager and everything in between, we still finish second. Again, it's nothing to celebrate, but it tells you that there's something there. So I think every Arsenal fan is just hoping that we maximize what we can internally, we get a bit of luck, and then finally, after a 20+ year wait, we celebrate significant kind of silverware. I did wanted to ask you, I know we're going to get onto transfers in a sec, but just briefly, like, how do you look at the striker in the left wing market? Because we're just fans at the end of the day. There's obviously good players, we'll get onto it, but we've been linked with Eze and Rodrigo and things of that ilk. But it doesn't look like there's too many players of evident quality that are widespread available. So how do you feel about the attacking market, like left wing and up front?
Yeah, look, in terms of left wing, I think what we're looking for in terms of the profile is a player that will deliver more in product, more goals, more assists. Because look, I don't know, I think there's an Arsenal fan out there that doesn't like Martinelli. We all know he's a really good player. Same with Trossard. Trossard's a good finisher. He comes up with good moments.
Bit of a clutch player he is, to be fair.
Exactly. They both offer plenty. So it's not like we're desperate for an upgrade. But if we're looking for positions where we can upgrade, I think that is clear. We need more goals. We certainly to ease the pressure on whichever striker we do sign, we need more goals to come from the flanks. Now, Saka will give you that, that. So goals and assists. But on the left side, it's been a bit patchy on that front. So, so goals and assists are big. Obviously, Barcola for me is a big player in that regard. You can't argue with his numbers, but it's in Ligue 1 for Paris Saint-Germain. So, they're the dominant force. Rodrigo, when he plays on the left, his numbers are pretty insane in terms of he scores a lot more goals, he makes a lot more assists, and he does on the right, where he has to sort of
it's not his favorite position.
No, he has to do a lot more tracking back. He can't cut in on his favored foot, etc. And then Eze is a really good example, of someone that I think is developing pretty quickly into someone that can deliver goals and assists. So I like all of those three. If we're writing off Nico Williams, I think we probably should.
Yeah, we have to give that up now.
Then I think the three that stand out of those three. The other ingredient is pace. Someone to really stretch the opposition.
That fullbacks are scared of.
Yeah, exactly. So then you're probably looking more like a Rodrigo and Barcola, I suppose. Eze will be a guy that just flits inside, won't he? So, so that would be, a different profile if we went for Eze. But I really love the player. I love him. I think that Eze is Bobby
Dazzler.
he comes out with moments of absolute magic, and even though he wouldn't hug the touchline, he would come in field and really offer a massive goal threat, I think. But the issue is there, where's the width coming from on the left hand side? You know,
Exactly.
Lars Lewis Skelly isn't that guy really to overlap. Calafiori loves doing it. He's a galloper, but I don't know if he's a centre back really playing at left back. We don't really have that overlapping left back, so that's my only concern about going for Eze. Because I love him as a player, but would it unbalance the team? So, but that's for the manager to sort out.
You touched on it there, Adrian, and you made an interesting comment. It wouldn't be a transfer window if we weren't signing goalies and left backs. I think, yeah, I know it's crazy. I on one hand, I think we're kind of stocked at left back because I know people will say fitness, but Calafiori can play there, as you referred to. Tomiyasu can go over there. God forbid, but if push comes to shove, Timber can do us a job. Obviously, Miles Lewis Skelly has made that role his own. Probably with more Tierney going, do you think we would go for an inverted left back then? A traditional left back, just to give us something different?
Well, I would like us to, yeah, I would like us to, but it's clearly not the priority.
Exactly.
Let's get these the sub goalie, the defensive midfield. I think we all know that that's going to happen. Let's get the striker and the left winger done. But in terms of the left winger, the one that we go for might if it is Eze. If Rodrigo is out of our reach, if he doesn't want to leave Real Madrid, we have to accept that. Barcola, Barcola, it's Real Madrid, and I think he's probably waiting to see what Alonso thinks of him, and that's absolutely fair enough in my eyes. Barcola, he's playing for the European champions, he's playing for the best team in the world. I think the team that should really win the Club World Cup. Yes, he's probably not first choice, but again, he's probably on big money. And he's in an outstanding team. Is he in a hurry? Is he in a hurry to leave? No, I don't think he is. So maybe when you look at it, then you're looking at Eberechi Eze and you're thinking, well, yeah, let's go and get him. And if that's the mindset of Andrea Berta and Mikel Arteta, let's go and get Eberechi Eze, then I think you have to consider buying an adventurous left back. Now, we want Miles Lewis Skelly in the team, don't we? So it's just and Rice is a rampaging left sider, but he's not going to provide that width. So that is an issue for me. He's not going to hug the touchline, Eze. You can't really just go down. You can't really just go down one side and offer a threat on that flank. So I do think that if Eze is the one to come in, then we need a rampage and left back that's going to get forward and offer that width. So it is interesting, unless of course we view Eze as an Ødegaard.
I was going to ask you this
competition for Ødegaard, because that would make sense to me. But he's the captain, and you would expect him to play most weeks. But he would certainly add stiff competition to Martin and play as that more of a number 10. So yeah, interesting times if we sign him, that's for sure.
Another thing that's going off in my group chat, and I'd love to ask you, is actually Rodrigo. You've been alluding to it now. Obviously, I know he's a good player. You do as well, and everybody listening. Do you really? Because a lot of my friends are saying like that could be our Alexis Sanchez kind of figure when he came from Barcelona, and I agree with it. I see the premise. You give him a bit of freedom, a bit of love, make him the main man, give him the freedom to drift inside, and obviously he's going to come for a big fee and big wages, so it would uplift everyone and be a quality player. But would it really be like that? Because I don't have him down like when Alexis Sanchez joined Arsenal from Barcelona to what Rodrigo could be technically now. I think Alexis Sanchez was of a different caliber. Am I wrong to say that? Or
I know where you're coming from. I do know where you're coming from, because he guarantees goals and assists. And at Real Madrid, he's not the star, is he? He's
exactly.
Mbappe and Vinicius and Bellingham are kind of ahead of him in that pecking order. But has he been unlucky? Shunted out of position, asked to do a different role. As I said, when his record when he plays on the left wing is markedly better in terms of goals and assists. I think he does elevate the team. I really do.
Evidently,
yeah. I think he takes to the next level. Alexis level, I don't know. Hopefully, but there is a question mark. There is. And do you know what? Even if you went with Eze or Barcola, you could probably say the same thing. Are they definitely elite
They're worth a punt.
world superstar players? Don't know really. Like they're very, very good players. But Alexis Sanchez was right up there, wasn't he? At the time that we signed him,
Different gravy.
he made a big difference. But look, this guy plays for Real Madrid. He's been operating at the top end of European football for many years. He's playing Champions League finals. Yeah, impacted those big games. I rate him highly, and I think that he's the kind of guy that we need to bring in to scare opponents and take the strain off of Saka. Because that is a big thing. Opponents, we've seen it with our own eyes. We go to the games, they're double marking Saka for fun, treble marking him at times, knowing that really on the other side, yes, we've got good players, but not players that are maybe going to hurt you like Saka. If you've got a Rodrigo and a Saka flank, on either flank, then that's going to stretch that back line out, and it's going to create more space for other people as well. It's going to make it harder for Saka and our left winger to be double marked. So that's the key for me. That is the key. We need to offer as much threat on the left as we do on the right. And once that happens, I think we could have a transformational effect, and it could open up a bit more space down the middle of the pitch as well, maybe for an Ødegaard, or an Eze to go and really hurt teams.
I was going to ask you that, and you kind of alluded to it, especially, and that's another reason as to why I want the width and having two strong wingers or inside forwards, as you said, purely because you can't triple or you can't double or triple mark both of Saka and this potential left winger, and if you do, obviously your team's going to be in issues. Do you think, one, that we move the ball quick enough, and two, that we penetrate central areas enough?
No, definitely not. I mean, when we were at it, we definitely moved the ball quickly, but could we sharpen it up? Yeah. And that's what Zubimendi is going to be brought in to do.
Quality player.
Because Rice isn't a high touch player, is he? He don't actually have that many touches. It's can the centre backs biz the ball out to the winger quickly? Can they give it to Zubimendi? Can he go bosh out to Saka? With a nice crisp pass early, or we go full back into Zubimendi round the corner to Saka, and he's in, and he's away for 1v1. Because I do feel that we were a bit more ponderous last year with the ball, and it allowed teams to sort of regroup, and we didn't stretch them as easily. Look at PSG again. I'll go back to it.
That's the example.
It is the blueprint, isn't it? The way that they move it quick between the lines to get their wingers on the ball in 1v1s. They get them in those positions before the other team have had a chance to get set. So that is the key, and I think Zubimendi will hopefully have a really big effect. That in turn will probably help Ødegaard. Because Thomas Partey, as much as I rate him as a player, he didn't always do things quickly.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he could sometimes be a little bit ponderous. I think getting Gabriel back will hopefully help as well. He can fizz the ball out nice and quickly. So, yeah, that is a big thing. And in terms of using the central areas, that's the thing I was banging on about a lot during the season when I was doing the commentary.
We've got the players
at the games. Yeah, it was because Ødegaard sort of pulls wide. Rice doesn't play down the middle. There's a big gap there, to slip balls into the centre forward. And if you get the ball into your striker, that's where things can happen, because they can hold it up, and then you've got the supporting runs to people coming in off the side to get into shooting positions off the striker. And I don't think we did it anywhere near enough really last year. So yeah, I mean, with Havertz there, he can do that, and hopefully one of Gyökeres, Sesko, whoever, Ekatike, I see it's another name.
Yeah, and every day there's a new name.
Exactly, but I do think it's important that we get the ball into the striker a little bit more often. So yeah, we'll see. And look, if we get one of these names who are quicker, we can also maybe go over the top down the middle a little bit more often as well, whereby we can stretch the teams, with runs down that middle of the pitch for strikers to get on the end of and score.
I think you're not lying, man. It's refreshing to hear it from a different perspective, but it's like all of our Arsenal fans, we might say things differently, but that is something we feel. I feel it's a double-edged sword in that obviously Mikel Arteta has been here for a while. We've been in these kind of conversations for a while. We've got a distinctive brand of playing football, inverted fullbacks, the way we press, that all of the things that you make articles about.
Pressing's great.
Exactly. But I think it's a double-edged sword in that obviously you're playing the same way teams obviously kind of clock it, and you do
Yeah,
have to remark it. What do you
yeah.
feel about the evolution of Mikel Arteta? Because I think he's a good coach, but one criticism people say is that if we're playing on a Saturday, right, and actually, ironically, it's Monday, he'll plan for every eventuality going into the game, and 9 times out of 10 it works. But then there's occasions where maybe there's something we haven't, and we kind of play the same way, kind of piggybanks into making subs in the 85th minute. Like, do you think he could be a bit more proactive in that? Like, where are you at with that?
Yeah, look, we can all improve, can't we? We can all be
100%.
slightly better. You know, you're looking to develop and learn. I'm sure this summer he will have reflected on his own performance and thought, right, how can I get better? I speak to a lot of coaches, and that is something that all coaches do. They spend time just analysing themselves, because you have to, you know, because the season, I talked about the season being hectic for me. You know, God knows what it's like for Mikel Arteta, you know, so
Yeah.
it's really, really hard. So he would have hopefully, and I'm sure he would have thought about it and thought, well, how can I get better? Can I develop a different shape for different scenarios? Could we try out a double pivot midfield sometimes and have a number 10 that roams left and right equally? Can we go direct a little bit more? Can we play on the counter a little bit more and more effectively? I think if we sign a quick striker, we certainly can do that.
Possibilities are endless then.
Yeah. Could we sometimes start a match with a back three, you know, just to catch someone on the hop? Or can we flip to that during the game? Because obviously when we got the ball, often we do have a back three.
We're back three anyways,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I'm not hung up on formations, but, you know, in matches where we unexpectedly trail, you know, we've gone behind to, I don't know who, we've gone behind to West Ham. Okay. And well, that happened last year.
Yeah, literally good
But, you know,
example.
and the year before, as it happens, can we go, Bosh, let's take off a defender, go to a back three, you Saka down one side as a wing back, so-and-so is down the other as another wing back, and get an extra body in and around the centre forward.
Suffocate them.
Yeah, can we go and play two up front sometimes, just to disrupt the opposition, especially when we're playing against teams with a back three or a back five? Can we go with two strikers? I think these are all things that we should look to implement, because, you know, the 4-3-3 or 4-1-4-1, whatever way you want to look at it, you know, we are maybe easy to plan against,
because you know what we're going to do.
We're so good, but we're so good that teams really can't often still stop us. But I think a little bit of variety maybe is something that the manager could add to his armory, and I'm pretty confident that he will want to do that, because, you know,
he's evolved every year. Well, this year more happy with that, but he's always shown progress in that.
He loves it. He absolutely loves football. He loves coaching. He loves tactics.
You got to, and you got to be crazy to be a manager, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, he probably just hasn't had time. But maybe this summer, with no major tournament, he's had a bit more time, you know, to plan and to work things out. And I'm quite excited about that. And obviously with the coaches going, Carlos Cuesta, I'm guessing, yeah, we will miss him. He was young. I'm sure the players loved him, but I see it as a positive, because I think whoever comes in, and I'm guessing they will replace him, whoever comes in is a fresh voice with fresh ideas. You can challenge the manager and just say, hang on, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And I think that
different lenses.
Definitely think that's really important.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. I don't know when that will happen. I'm sure it will be a carefully kind of progress thing. It doesn't surprise me, because the squad and the coaching staff have been together for a while. And, you know, where you touched on Carlos Cuesta, Arteta probably sees himself in that, you know, he's been a good ally, but he wants to step out in his own rank and do his thing. And there's a couple of ex-Arsenal kind of alumni, as you say, in Serie A. So we hope one of them could win it, as dreamy as that would be. Because we've kind of been touching on tactics, Adrian. Do you feel, maybe not necessarily in terms of numbers, but could we do with 2 or 3 players that deviate away from the script or what Arteta system players would be? For instance, there might just be a touchline winger that is just going to take people on and isn't necessarily something typical, but just on the topic of being unpredictable, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think you need lots of different types of players, don't you? So yeah, you've got they're all technically. I don't know. I think we've got a pretty good blend, actually. What we've lacked is a bit more explosiveness.
Yeah,
up front, you know, certainly. So, like, that's the key. We need a striker that's a prolific goal scorer, but B, also someone quick. Is going to run and really go and test defenders and allow us to slide passes in behind or down the sides for them to chase, so we can get up the pitch and to stretch the game. So, because obviously, if you've got a quick striker, it also forces defenders to drop back. So
You don't want to get in a race.
And well, yeah, because like if they hold a high line against us when we got Kai Havertz up front, it's less risky than if we've got a quicker guy. And Seshko and Gyökeres and Ekitike, they're all quicker. Okay, and they'll all make those runs. So that means they'll have to at times drop off deeper. And if they drop off deeper, it should, in theory,
There's gaps.
create a little bit more space for us to go and play and hurt them. So yeah. I do think, as I said earlier, an overlapping left back, a buccaneering left back, is kind of a little bit of a gap for us. But I'm trying to think of other gaps. Really, I don't think there's any major ones now.
It's just more Stardust quality we need to bring in.
Exactly.
I don't think you're wrong. You're kind of the best person to have here because you obviously do a lot of analysis. How do we? Well, obviously you're not Mikel Arteta, and I'm sure he's got his ways. But I'd say for the last 2 years, low blocks or compact units has been an issue of ours. Now, to me, you either stretch the opposition, which we've been alluding to, or you get the more Wenger-y kind of players that are great in the pockets. We've got a couple of players I'd describe as that in the squad. But how could we go about that? Because that is something that's an issue against us now.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's the speed of passing for sure. Like you touched on that earlier. It is having that pace option. Someone, because even against a low block, if you've got someone that wants to make a little run down the sides, even if it's a 5-yard run, a 10-yard run, you can slip them in. That scares defenders. But yeah, it's not easy when you come up against these mass ranks. I mean, obviously having a tall guy, with Havertz is big, but you got to get Marino in the box. You got to get Havertz in the box. Seshko, he's massive. If he was to join, then against that low block, you could put those balls into the box with a bit more hope of someone getting on the end of it. For me, it's where we cross from as well. I think too many crosses last season come from too deep. That's what I'm talking about with explosiveness. Okay, that speed to go beyond the last man. And if you can do that against low blocks, what can they do? If you can get to that byline, chop it back, it's a nightmare, absolute nightmare for them. So that's what we need. We need speed, explosiveness, directness to get to the byline, to either flash it across the face of goal or cut it back for players to score. And we, cut inside on the edge of the box, looking to make something happen. We're great at it, but we have to have a bit more in our armory against those stubborn teams. So that's why we're looking at Gyökeres and Seshko. That's why we're looking at
powerful runners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think you're bang on, and maybe I'm a bit naive, but especially when we play low blocks, I mean, there's never a bad time to score. If you could do that in the 90th minute or in the first minute, great. But for me, against low blocks, the quicker you score, the better, because they might stick to the script. But obviously, this is football, innit? They have to attack us. That opens up spaces, like what you've alluded to.
And then fast starts are massive against these teams. Yeah, so you've got to get one up, get just in their face, get one up, and then they're in trouble because
basketball match.
They can't low block us then. The other point I want to make is in midfield. I think the profile of a midfield, and I think you touched on this, I think you alluded to this, the profile of a midfield has maybe been a little bit too big. Like, I like us being big and powerful, but, if you've got Partey and Rice and Marino, and you got Havertz even there coming into midfield sometimes, like, they're all good players, but are they speedy? Are they quick, nimble, around the court? Are they Santi Cazorla? Are they Mikel Arteta?
On my life, I was about to say that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's those little guys that we're talking about. So Zubimendi, he's a little bit more nimble, isn't he? He can get it. He just flick it around the corner. He's sharp. Ødegaard, sharp. But that's the profile of player. And Eze would bring that, wouldn't he? Because he's
perfect for that.
Really quick across the turf, good in tight areas. Those are the sort of players you want against the low block teams as well. So, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot, the makeup of the squad is so important. Could we do with that one more player that's really sharp and nimble. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you feel then, yeah, like, because you obviously know, like everybody, Partey's going now, Norgard's coming, Zubimendi's here. I actually think Zubimendi's going to be quite exciting. I know he's a 6, and in that regard, it's very different, but you can see how Partey's out, Zubimendi obviously comes in. I
Mm.
know him and Declan Rice are not the same, but just off the basis of when Rice came in, he was known as a world-class 6. He's more doing all phases of midfield now. I think we're going to see a lot of that in Zubimendi. But then I thought, with Partey obviously leaving and Norgard coming in, and I look at the fact that we've got Marino, Rice, Zubimendi, and actually Kai Havertz as well, and others. Do you think there's scope then to maybe have pivoted away and go towards like an 8, like maybe Manchester City's Rangers in terms of the profile, or as you said, Santi? Like, is that a skill shortage
Yeah,
potentially?
yeah, it's a different profile, isn't it? Yeah, I think that Norgard really is more of a replacement for Jorginho, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's more
squad
of a
filler.
backup, but he's more mobile than Jorginho. He's got good legs, even though he's in his 30s. He's very energetic, and he'll put a lot more pressure on. He'll probably be better without the ball than Jorginho, and in a good team like ours, I think he'll show himself on the ball as well. I think he'll be neat and
It's
tidy,
gonna
and
happen.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I can see the reasoning behind bringing him in. I can. Yeah, look, as I said earlier, like I'd like us to just try different shapes at times and go with a 4-2-3-1 sometimes, or go for a 4-4-2. Where you stick 2 up top. What about Havertz and Gyökeres, or Havertz and Seshko? If Ødegaard for whatever reason's unavailable, he needs a rest or he's injured, could we try that with a Rice and Zubimendi in midfield? That would be pretty exciting, with Havertz maybe dropping in off the front to lead play.
He is a willing runner, Havertz.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But Havertz can also drop in and play as a 10, because he's I think if you ask him what his position is, and don't think anyone really knows. I think he's probably his best as a striker, but as a proper number 10, I think he could do it. I don't really see him as that 8 guy particularly. He can do it, but it's not his best. I think playing just as a support striker, that could work really well. So
He's very
maybe that.
intelligent off the ball.
Yeah, he's a brilliant, intelligent player. He can do everything. I'm a fan of Havertz. He's smart. His movement is unbelievable.
He's very intelligent.
Yeah, so Havertz sort of up with the main striker, like a quickie. That excites me. But then, obviously, could we see Ødegaard playing a deeper role this year? A little bit like Santi Cazorla did in the end.
I think he can do that.
He came back in and played there. So look, a lot will depend on injuries and who's fit and available, because you will have to adapt. But yeah, look, once we've done our business, I'm pretty sure that the fabric of the squad is going to be strong.
I don't think you're lying, man. You've been touching on it, yeah. What do you make of the adaptation period? Because as you can see, I'm very bullish about Zubimendi in all phases.
Yeah.
I understand, I think a lot of Arsenal fans, unfortunately, are probably over it now because we've been linked with him for a number of years. We're just happy to see that one drawing conclusion. But it's like that. What do you think of the adaptation period? Because whether it's a young guy like Sesko or someone that's 27 scoring goals for fun like Gyökeres or Zubimendi, we kind of want them to hit the ground running, in which I'm sure we'll put our best foot forward in that regards. But they are human. They are adapting to new teammates and leagues and things of that ilk. So what do you make of that dynamic?
Well, I'd just get them in early, hopefully. Maybe we're waiting for the 1st
Hopefully
of
this
July.
week.
Yeah. Hopefully we're waiting for the 1st of July, for the financial year, for the clubs that you're buying them off, because they might want to say, they might have asked us to let's not announce it, or let's not do the deal until July, because
Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Exactly. Yeah. So pre-season's massive, isn't it? And for the adaptation, obviously, the Premier League is, but I don't see it as being a problem for Zubimendi at all, really. I mean, physicality wise, he's obviously not as big and strong as some of the guys. So they might try and knock him around a bit, but I think he's so good that maybe they won't be able to get near him. That's my hope anyway.
Intelligent.
And the Premier League is more European now than it used to be. There aren't many teams that rough you up like they used to. They all want to play good football. They're all technically good these days. So it's less of an issue. It's just the speed, the intensity of Premier League football is the thing to get used to. Hopefully Zubimendi will be fine. I think the strikers will be fine, because whoever comes in, I would expect them to kind of rotate with Havertz a little bit. And And I like rotating strikers because I think you have to be sharp, you have to be
There's too many
explosive.
games. We need to.
You don't want to burn them out. So I don't think whoever we sign, whether it's for 50 million, 80 million, 100 million, you don't have to play them every game from the start. You can, have one on the bench that comes on and finishes a game and have one start. That's how you're going to hopefully conserve the minutes this season. For me, this summer is about beefing up the numbers, obviously with good
Which we
quality.
seem to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Beefing up the numbers so that Mikel can go on the hour. Bosh. Thank you very much, Kai. On you go, Victor or Benjamin or whoever it is. Go and finish the game for us. Because it's not just about the starters, but because we were so stripped last year for injuries and whatnot, our bench was weaker than almost every other team in the Premier League at times.
Barely had a bench to put out, really.
Exactly. So that's the big hope is that will change this year.
I mean, we've been talking about strikers, so I've got to ask you. Obviously, we are at the point as Arsenal fans where I think we can recognize, in the modern day, strikers are not just standing in the opposition box and bagging. You're almost the first defender. You got to pull to the channels, as you said. You got to drop deep. I always describe it as a sacrificial lamb. I think it's almost an impossible job. We want you to score goals, and you have to, but then you have to drag defenders with you to allow Saka and to a degree Martinelli and Trossard to benefit. But I think a lot of go on.
It's hard work playing up front. I did it sometimes. As a winger.
Yeah, it must be mad, man.
You make him run after run, and a lot of the time you don't get the ball.
And people only care if you score, really.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be fit and you got to be sharp. That's why I'm saying, City do it with Haaland, and I think it's a bit detrimental. I think obviously the arrival of Marmoush will help him there, but you can, and maybe that's why Haaland doesn't move much because he knows he's going to play all the time, and he has to conserve his energy for the right moments. But if you've got enough numbers, you can go to your striker and say, right, just give us everything for 55, 60 minutes. And then
come off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really important because you've got to drag defenders, especially if you play for Arsenal, where they know that they're scared of you, they're going to get defenders back.
It's a tough job.
Yeah, you've got to drag people out of their comfort zone. And the only way you do that is if you run. So we need some really sharp players this year, and hopefully we'll get them.
I'm dreaming, but can I dream of 2 strikers arriving in the summer? I know I'm dreaming, but where would you be at with that?
Yeah,
I know I'm dreaming.
Well, I mean, you've got Jesus who's there. You see, we forget about him, but I mean, I don't know when he's going to be fit and
speedy recovery. Jesus.
But if we got 2 strikers and Havertz and we got Jesus, then maybe that is overkill. I don't know. I think the key is to get a goal-scoring wide player. Yeah, that is the key to not needing 2 strikers.
Like what Liverpool had with Mane and Salah.
Exactly that. So, you get Rodrigo, you don't need 2 strikers because I think he will chip in with enough goals. Look, I don't think the budget will surely permit. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a bottomless pit.
I don't think. No, exactly. I think you have to be realistic. So it's who, and I am a little bit on the fence. I've got a very open mind on it. I could form an argument for the 2 names that we've been talking about for God knows how long. I can form to say why each. So all right. Well, let's start with Gyökeres. I think Gyökeres has that explosiveness. He is explosive and he works hard, and he will run down the side of defenders. He'll go left, he'll go right. He will be a nightmare for centre backs.
Strong man.
Yeah, and he's strong. And he's for now. And I'm not worried really about the leagues that he's played in because the Championship. Okay, it's a different level to the Premier League, but he was great in the Championship. And then
it's not easy to bag in the Championship.
No, and players that have bagged in the Championship have also bagged in the in the Premier League. Exactly. Look at Liam Delap, for example. Chelsea have snapped him up. There's no issue, is there? Actually, quite a similar style of player. He's a bit older. He's probably got less to his game. I'll say, he's maybe not got an amazing touch, and stuff like that. Has he got that much skill? Maybe not. Does he score that many headers? A few, but but what he will do is he'll one touch, bosh, he'll stick it bottom corner.
Once he gets in the stride,
He'll smash it in. He'll run down the side and score. He'll score different types of goals inside the box.
can hit free kicks as well if
Yeah,
ever wants to.
it's good penalty taker as well. So I think that he will score loads for a team like Arsenal that will create plenty. So I'm not worried about Gyökeres. Šeško, I don't know if he'll score quite as many goals at the start as Gyökeres, but he is a better all-round player. He'll offer you a bit. He's got a bit more finesse about him. You know, he has got the touch. He has got the skill. He'll maybe score different types of goals, more spectacular goals from outside the box. He'll have more of an aerial threat. Probably not quite as explosive as Gyökeres because he's a bigger guy, but he's still quick enough to run in behind. He definitely
They both got the physical qualities to thrive in this league.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a picker. He's younger, which is obviously an upside. For me, it would, and I know this might sound silly, but for me, it would be, I'd want, if I was Mikel Arteta, it would almost come down to my chat with him. It would almost come down to that.
I see why you say that.
It would be, I like you both. You know, he's not going to sit in the same room with them, clearly, but he's going to have a chat with them, I would imagine. And it would be who wants it more, who really, really wants to come and play for the Arsenal, who really can't wait to be a teammate of Saka and Ødegaard. You know, who is a student of the game, who is hungriest to win trophies. You know, who he thinks the bit more of a winner out of these guys. It would almost come down to personality for me between the two, because I think both have got the traits to be huge success stories at Arsenal, but it's the mental side of it for me, and that is down to Arteta and Berta, who are talking to the agents, to the players themselves. They're the ones that are having that relationship. They've got to suss it out and decide which character will fit in best with the boys, which character is the hungriest to deliver and succeed. And you know, whoever that is, I hope we go and get them.
It's a tough one because I can see the potential risks around both signings. I can see the potential, upkeep. I think the one thing that I would kind of sway me, because Šeško is more my sort of player, and I think personally, without knowing anything, that's the one we want. I just think, like what you said, Gyökeres he's a bloody good player, and it's right now mode kind of thing, and he's had some highs and lows in his career, so you've kind of got that kind of headspace. You've done it in the Championship, you've done it in Portugal. I mean, people can laugh at the Portuguese league, but he's playing for one of the biggest clubs there. He's having the desire to get over the line. I don't know how Sporting Lisbon fans looked at it, but they could have taken what I would say is a conventional footballing view, like, oh, why are we signing a striker from the Championship? So he's having to kind of prove them wrong. It's now or never. Like, I know people talk about 27 like you're 97 years of age, but within these 5 years, you've got to kind of succeed. So it's a sweet gig. I like Šeško. I think where you look at our team, we've developed that kind of late teens to mid-20s all across the side. So obviously Šeško ties into that. We've been linked with Šeško's for years. So if I take links for gospel, clearly we've been watching him. We know how he can help us in the short, medium, and long term. And I mean, fans would have to put up with either striker because they would have signed for the club. But I just feel fans are maybe impatient now, and they're kind of in win now mode. And I think Šeško would kind of be one of those players of tomorrow. Where you kind of were alluding to the mentality and providing an interesting perspective, as you was talking, I must admit, subconsciously I was going to Šeško because he speaks about like study, a bit like Miles Lewis Skelly, like studying Kobe Bryant and mindset and sleep. And I like his physical qualities. I know people don't want to hear it, but he can run very fast and he can jump very high on top of being a very good player. And I only care if you succeed at Arsenal, of course, but there is the scope of resale value and things of that ilk. So it's a weird one where you pivot in either direction. I personally think Šeško's the one, and I think Sporting are playing a bit of hardball, but I'm at the point now, Adrian, if I'm honest, just sign a striker. Whether it's either one, just sign a striker. We'll dissect all the stuff after. Man.
They're playing off against each other a little bit,
exactly.
But then each club is then probably trying to say, well, it's not just you. You know, Sporting want man. They're desperate for Man United to be in the mix. You know, Leipzig are probably desperate for someone else to come in and threaten to scupper that move so that they can negotiate a better deal. I think Berta's trying to play them off against one another. You know, maybe the Ekitike rumours are just
even that one. That's another one.
But even that, it could be just to jog Šeško or Gyökeres into
make a decision.
Yeah, make your mind up time, because otherwise we might go for someone else. It's a lot of that goes on, you know, I'm sure in the negotiations. So yeah, I think I think I'm 51% Seshko, 49 Gyökeres, because I think Gyökeres
Exactly.
can make it work. You know, so I'm probably with you. I think Seshko probably suits the team more. He would fit in seamlessly, I'm sure. And he kind of is made for us. And for me, the every player has a different peak. Mine was probably when I was really young. But you know, look at Michael Owen, for example, or Robbie
Good
Fowler. You
example.
know, their peaks were sort of 18 to 25. Beyond that, I didn't do that much. Most strikers score the most goals between 23 and 29. That's their peak years.
That's their prime.
So in that sense, Seshko would probably be the guy. Gyökeres, you've got a smaller window, but you know, there's a lot I like about Gyökeres. You know, just think about that game we had against them. I know we battered Sporting, but he gave Gabriel and Saliba a tough time.
Good run for their money.
He gave a similar tough time as Isak did. You know, Isak really
he terrorized.
He's the only Premier League player that's outplayed Saliba and Gabriel. You know,
would be the dream, to be fair.
Yeah,
but
exactly. But it's not happening. But Gyökeres did unsettle the pair of them. So that is an indication of the threat he would carry. So yeah, let's see. I'll be excited, whoever it is. Yeah, we'll just get behind him. But genuinely, the one I want is the one with the best mentality, and we don't know that.
Yeah, because we're not privy to that info.
We don't know that. So let's just trust the guys.
I don't think you're wrong. You said Berta's name, and I've said Berta's name a few times throughout this. Just how big of a job does he have? Because he's got to get new deals done, which with Miles Lewis-Skelly and Gabriel Magalhaes, he's doing that. He's had to pivot with Partey not signing a new deal. Obviously, there's incomings. I'm not expecting you to do everything, but it is kind of your job with everyone. So that, for me, two things. We leave the window feeling like we've got the depth. So even if it does play out in terms of injuries like last year, we're able to cope. And like what we've been talking about, we've got a left winger, we've got a striker, we've centre mid sorted. We feel a lot better about our side. But for you, where are you at with Berta and his task at hand?
Oh, yeah, look, he's new. You want to make a great impression. You talk about hunger. We just mentioned there were players. This guy's just walked in the building, comes with a big reputation. He's
massive rep.
He's got to be hungry to deliver right away. He's not signed his deal and thought, I've made it now, have I? Because he's come from Atletico Madrid. You know, yeah, I think it's a step up, but that's a big club at Atletico anyway. So, like, this is a fresh start for him, and he will want to make an impact. And this is his time. This is his time. And I think in the past, maybe with Edu last summer, maybe Edu's eye was on his next job. You know, what am I going to do?
I believe that.
Yeah, so maybe he wasn't as hungry last summer. Maybe it was like, oh, maybe we can wait till January if we can't get the right player. And you know, that turned out to be a mistake, didn't it? You know, because we didn't have the squad to challenge on all fronts, unfortunately, last year. The task in hand now is give us a squad that can make us challenge for every trophy. And yeah, he's a tailor-made for this job. With Edu as well, by the way, he fell into it. He's a former footballer.
Yeah,
with Berta, it's a job he's been doing this job for a while now. He's got loads of contacts. He's no doubt a good negotiator. You don't get to the
tough negotiator
if you're not. So yeah, I'm very confident that we will. Well, look at the lack of business we've done in January, the last few years. I think he needs to get the squad in shape for a whole season at the end of August. None of this. Oh, let's see how it's going in January. No, this is because we never do anything in January, and it's hard, as we know. So this is the squad for the
moment,
the whole season. So let's not knock the can down the road and say, look, yeah, in 6 months we'll reassess and maybe we'll get that guy then. No, let's get them now.
I don't think you're lying, man. I feel that's the thing with me with Arsenal and what we're doing at the moment. It's like in the past, obviously, I'm appreciative of where we've gone to where we are now. The future, I don't know where it is. I just feel when it's all said and done in these last 3 years, 3 different reasons, but we have finished second. So that tells me there's something here, but we've not got over the line. Let's exhaust every option so that we can seize the present. Liverpool could fall off a cliff, but at the end of the day, they won the Premier League last year. And I want that to be us. Like, I do a lot of talking about the nuances and fine margins, but I just feel for as good as we are, we're never on the right side of those. I would love to be on the right side. And it's just about doing that, if I'm completely honest with you. And mainly, especially in the attacking rank, I would say, Adrian, it's like it
Mm.
really is just Bukayo Saka, if I'm honest. I know Kai Havertz and other players have chipped in, but I want Saka to not feel that kind of burden. What do you make of... Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I said this on the Handbrake Off recently to the guys on there, but the point is quite valid. How many of our squads would list scoring goals as their best attribute?
It's just Saka really at a push.
No, that's not even his. He's probably more of a creator. Like their best.
Yeah.
What are you best at? What are you best at? How many would say finishing?
I don't know. You know, I'd probably force it and say Wanyeri and Trossard, but I don't think they have the bodies of work.
I think Trossard's the one. He's the only one that can probably say, "Yeah, I think my best attribute is my finishing." Like because Saka's got so much more. Havertz, you wouldn't say Havertz has got it. You know that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So that's why we've got to bring in probably two people that will say, "Yeah, finishing."
That can get us double figures.
So the striker, I think either of those would say, "Yeah, finishing's my attribute." Rodrigo might say, "I'm a great finisher." You know, I mean, he's obviously a good dribbler as well, but you know, he's got the speed, but he is a very, very good finisher as well. So, you know that you need more than one guy, and Trossard, let's be honest, probably isn't in the starting 11 if everyone's fit. So none of your starting 11 would list finishing as their
How do you expect to win games really when you put it like that?
Yeah, so Salah would, Haaland would. So we need at least one in the team that
can be of that same ilk.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
I don't think that's a good point, Adrian. I'm still trying to think. Yeah, no, you're bang on. It's probably Trossard. A push. Yeah. That's why we got you on the platform. That's a very good way of putting it, man. Oh wow. What do you make of Miles Lewis-Skelly and Wanyeri next season? Because I admittedly, I don't know where Lewis-Skelly ends up long term, and I don't really care. If you're going to be the left back, great. If you could go into centre mid and do both, great. I'm just happy that you're here and you're doing everything you need to do. I personally feel with Wanyeri, and big him up for winning the under-21s championship, but I feel at this moment you're probably seen as a right winger, a bit like what Wenger used to do with creative players, where they end up centrally long term. You're going to play out wide. I think he needs to get up to speed with what Mikel Arteta demands from Odegaard in that role, and then maybe Bob's his uncle. I don't know, maybe long-term left eight, but where do you see them lot ending up? And how do you see next season potentially panning out for them?
Yeah, they've had a great meteoric rise, the pair of them. It's been amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, just brilliant. Look, I just hope Miles can continue to develop and become even better, like in terms of his defending, you know, because we know on the ball he's just magic, so strong. But, you know, just improve that decision making, maybe, you know, less fouls, less sort of yellow card moments. You know, that's what he needs to be careful of. But yeah, he's a fantastic player. Love him, love his character. So yeah, I think you'll go from strength to strength, probably at left back, but you know, he's going to spend a lot of time in central midfield. But it's a card that he can play, you know, at any time. If Norgard's injured, if we get him, if Zubimendi's injured, we'll just go and stick Miles there. You know, we saw Mikel try it a couple of times towards the end of games last year. He could absolutely do it. One area for me, in my opinion, he is competing with Odegaard rather than Saka, just because I don't think he has quite that explosive speed yet to go past people on the outside. He can do it, but I want him in goal scoring positions, you know, where you just in and around the D, where you can just bend one in
that left foot is quality.
Or slip someone into the box. I think he could maybe pressurize Odegaard for starts, but he's got to obviously get back to the form we saw, you know, before sort of March time. I think he did tail off towards the end of last season
when he got that run in the team, like around Brighton away.
But it was like he can definitely be Saka's backup, but I think his skill set is better suited to being central. Is my honest opinion.
I'll tell you, one said he could be a striker, which I don't know if he'll end up there, but it's food for thought with him.
Yeah. Well, he can finish, can't he? You know, there's no doubt about that.
That's wonderful left foot.
Yeah, I want him infield. Is my honest opinion, and I don't worry about him with work rate. You know, his numbers are pretty good on pressing and stuff like that. He will graft for the team. You know, he's been brought up at Hale End. You don't get through to the first team if you're a luxury
one of the best
player.
academies in Europe or the world.
Exactly. You don't get to the team unless you work really hard. So, yeah, they're both going to be special players. Potentially they could both be in the World Cup squad for next summer.
You're so close, Ethan, to going with Tuchel. Well, getting called up for Tuchel's squad.
I think he was unlucky, and he was also unlucky in the 21s. I found it hard to believe, to be honest, that he wasn't in the starting 11.
Join the club.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought that was, it's hard to criticise the manager when they've just won it. So, I can't really say too much to Lee Carsley, but for me, he should have been in the number 10 role for England.
Youngest in the squad as well.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, and maybe that's why he was sort of on the periphery a bit. But for me, he's better than Hutchison. He's better than McAtee. Harvey Elliott, you can't quibble with that. He delivered for England under 21s. But I think Waneri and Elliott could have been used in tandem behind a striker potentially. So he's a bit unlucky there. But he does need he needs a good start to the season just to make sure he stays in Arteta's.
Just seize your moment when you get it.
Yeah, because I do think that he's regressed a touch, and that's not a surprise because all young players are going to go up, down, up, down.
They're trying to get consistency. It's the aim of the game.
Exactly. They will always go up and down. But yeah, you could do with just an up at the start of the season, just to remind Arteta that he's someone they can.
I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he can make the England World Cup squad. It won't be easy because there's not many games between now and the World Cup, but he's got a chance. Miles will definitely be there.
I hope so, man. I mean, just as long as they take their chances, and I just coincidentally, I don't know why, but the fact that you look at Waneri, Bukayo Saka, who's obviously a bit older, and Miles Lewis-Skelly, they've all come from Haylen. We're all excited about them, but I don't know. Maybe there's something in the water in Haylen, in that they're all left-footed. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I find it great. And then obviously he's only 15, but you've got the young Max Dowman. He'll soon come on the scene. You imagine all us Arsenal fans will be exposed to him during pre-season. Before I let you go, there's two things I want to go over. But before I go over the fixture calendar list, I kind of want to go back in time. I know I don't want to, bring up any memories, but 2024-25 season, when it's all said and done, it's done. I want to go with, first and foremost, what would you give goal of the season? So it could be any goal we've scored in any competition.
Oh, man. Declan Rice.
Everyone's gone with that.
The second free kick. Yeah. It's postage stamp. Love that goal.
It was just so off the cuff. Performance of the season?
Our performance. Do you know what?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, City at home was pretty special. Real Madrid was pretty special. But I'm going to rewind it to Sporting away. We were unreal in that game. We were unreal in that game. And because it was not a high-profile game as such, it gets a little bit forgotten. But the level we produced in that match was super high.
And I think you're right. And, the last time, obviously, prior to that, our two last visits to Portugal weren't exactly anything to scream and shout about. I think when we played Sporting in the Europa League, I think we drew and we should have killed the game in hindsight. And then obviously look at the Porto game where we turned it around in the second leg, but we didn't put our best foot forward in Portugal in the first leg. So you are right in that probably not going to be remembered because, beating Real Madrid in the manner we did and what we did to City, that's going to get the limelight. What would be your disappointment of the season?
Disappointment of the season. Well, it's probably the points tally. It's the finish. It's the goals scored.
14 draws.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah. Too many leads given up.
Exactly.
That was big. That was a big issue for us, giving up leads. But ultimately, I think a lot of it came down to goal scoring. I think we were way off it really last year.
There's no way around it. And even that, I think we got 90, 100 goals last season. So it's like we're crying about needing goals and things and we're still scoring. It's a weird dynamic. Who'd be your unsung hero?
It's a good one. I mean, a big fan of Timber. I like him. I think David Raya gets, probably deserves a bit more love. Probably Marino, though. I think Marino delivered. He was asked to do a job that he'd never done before. And he came in and I thought he did superbly, and scored some big goals as well. So, yeah, I'd probably say Mikel Merino. I think he's earned his right to be really, loved and respected by the fans. And
he had a tough start. I would say Kivior for me purely because
that's a good shout. Yeah.
I'd say Kivior because it got respectfully to Kivior. When you came in, obviously you're a massive drop off from Magalhaes, and with how the couple of games that he played with Saliba happened, it was Saliba, as much as I love him, the one making mistakes. Kivior stood tall, so I'd give it him. My most improved player would be Mikel Merino, just because of, I know you're playing up front, but it didn't start well for you at Arsenal in terms of fans. And you look at how it ended. You got a bit of cult hero status for the year, playing up front, doing your thing, and probably the best celebration in the club, to be fair.
I'm trying to think most improved. I might, do you know what? The one that sticks in my head here is Gabriel Magalhaes, because like he's always been very good. We know that,
It just gets
but
better and better.
I think he went up a level this year. He went, for me, he was better than Saliba last year,
100%.
and that, you wouldn't have said that probably the season before or season before that. So I think Gabriel Magalhaes is, his impact from corners was just ridiculous. So yeah, I think Gabriel would get my vote there.
It's a bit weird because I can't not say Declan Rice's goal, 2 goals against Real Madrid weren't my favorite goals, or actually Bukayo Saka's. I think he's got a very underrated finish when he scored against Liverpool at the Emirates. But I would say, away from that, I would say Gabriel Magalhaes in the North London derby with the header. I don't know why, because I'm used to us scoring headers, but it just felt like something was in the air. So it'd be interesting. I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to say for young player of the season, but nonetheless, young player of the season, there's probably only one guy.
Yeah, Lewis Skelly. Yeah, he just from where he didn't make his debut. His full debut was in December.
Crazy, isn't it?
And like it feels like he's been here forever. At that level. So
such a player.
Just ridiculous, really.
Who'd your player of the season be?
Yeah, it's a toss up for me between two, and that's Raya and Rice. I think Raya had he didn't end the season amazingly. He started, some of his passing was a little bit off, but he made some unbelievable saves last year. David
got us out of jail so many times.
Yeah, he was magnificent. But I can't really look beyond Declan Rice.
Second half of the season was
like he wasn't great at the start. He was very much 6 out of 10 until sort of the autumn time. And then we come into the winter, and from them all the way to the end of the season, outstanding, genuinely world class. Was the leader in the team, and I think he deserves it. He got the official one, right, Declan Rice? Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah,
can't disagree. And you know what the craziest thing is? Even though we didn't win the Premier League, we've talking about injuries and dropping points from winning positions and 14 draws. If we were to say player of the season, there's so many players who were injured, or like Raya and Rice, who played for the duration, that could fight for that. I think the one thing I would say is that I'd love to have these player of the season shouts, and kind of the theme of what we've been talking about. And we've got our left winger and our striker in those kind of conversations, because it probably does tend to lead itself to more the defensive unit of the team. I can't let you get out of it, Adrian, without, I know you've seen the fixture calendar list. What do you make of the start? And is there anything you gather from this? I know everyone's got to play everyone twice, and some Arsenal fans
say, I'm less bothered about it than most, just because I think,
let's get on with it.
It doesn't really matter. Obviously, we can all see it's a really hard start, but I look at it as, what's the best time to go to Anfield? Probably before they've really got in their groove. They've got a lot of new players. So maybe the best time to go to Old Trafford might be on the opening day. They've had a very bad record, actually, at Old Trafford in recent years.
Long may it continue.
Early in the season. Anfield away, I think it's once they get in their groove, we know that's rock hard. So let's maybe try and catch them cold. City at home, Newcastle away. I mean, these are always hard games. But look, what I would say is, if you can get through those first 6 with a good points tally, with, I don't know what you're looking at. I think 6, 7, 10, 13, 14 points, say, even
a very good platform.
Yeah, if you can get through with 12 to 14 points from the first 6, averaging at least 2, that is going to set us up for a really strong season. We won't be maximum. We wouldn't be top of the league. Someone will have 16 points or whatever, because they've had an easier start. But if you can get 12, 13, 14 points from that first 6 games, it gives us a platform. Obviously, it can go the other way, and then you're really playing catch up. What I would also say is the run-in, and I would rather have an easier run-in than a tough start.
You'd rather you wouldn't swap May and August. That's what I would say.
I wouldn't swap it. I wouldn't swap it. So I wouldn't. I think from March to May, pretty good for us. So yeah, if we're in the mix coming into March, I think we've got an excellent chance.
That's what I'm saying. I'm with the fact of everybody's got to play everyone. I'm sure every fan that supports a Premier League club will moan about a certain sort of period. And I know, again, results dictate things. As we all know, a week's a long time in football. So if I just look in August, if we win, we're happy as Larry if we get 9 points. If it's a bit more negative, you know what will kind of be said. I know people have pre-season down as this magical place you go to for 2, 3 or so weeks and everything clicks. But in reality, that's not what happens. Everybody is trying to, chasing fitness and all those kind of things. So for me, it's not I don't take the Premier League serious, but it's like for me, once you get to like the 10-game onwards period, that's when things start to take shape. So my point of saying that is simply to say everyone's on an equal footing. Kind of what you said, it's best to just play these teams kind of now. I would like us to take 4 to 6 points off Liverpool and City. And I do think if we are to win the league, you either have to beat Liverpool twice, which is easier said than done, or beat City twice. Of course, there's a reality where we didn't. But you get some very good fixtures out the way. You get the Uniteds, the Newcastles away, the Cities, and many people point to our top 6 record. It wouldn't surprise me, God forbid, if that, we deal with Liverpool, we beat City, Leeds United, Nottingham Forest. These have been quote unquote the banana skins, the games that we should be winning on paper. These are the ones that have kind of stressed us. So if we can show one better than last season, there's nothing stopping us. Naturally, you're going to look to the December, January period because of the amount of games and the amount of football you would have played and the other competitions up until that point. But that's where it goes back to what you were saying earlier about depth and the squad. So we just have to hope for the best.
Fast starts, better game management, more depth off the bench when if we're needing goals late in games, hopefully we'll have some real attacking talent that's in reserve. So yeah. But these aren't things that will be a surprise to the players when Arteta gives these messages. But yeah, once we get that lead, we have to be better. We have to run with it. We have to be smarter. I think we have to go for the second. With a little bit more, passion. Maybe sometimes we sat on it, made a mistake, and we got punished. So yeah, hopefully the influx of a couple of good finishes will help us in that regard.
Hopefully the game management, because you're right, because unfortunately that this is 38 games, as you know, but come May, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get where you should be. You're going to win, lose and draw amicably, but as you know, there's games where you play amazing and lose, play very poorly and win. I think we need to kind of find a bit more of a medium in that. I saw plenty of times where I'm sure Arne Slot and Liverpool would say we weren't at the races, we weren't quite actually good, the opposition was better than us, but kind of piggybanking off what you said, either it's Mo Salah or an unlikely hero, they've scored the goals, and if you can't win, don't lose. And I say Liverpool, actually I remember the game at the Emirates where we weren't tentative. I think we was boxing smart, but the one time we tried to gamble for another goal, obviously we was punished. And one does wonder, the many times we drop points from winning positions, naturally if that never happened, where would we be? But that's all hindsight. Hopefully we go one better. Adrian, I've taken up far too much of your time. This has been amazing, man. Let people know they can find you and all those things, and tell us about the YouTube channel to come once again.
Yeah, brilliant. No, thanks for having me. Yeah, I don't know, I'm a socials, I'm just saying Adrian J Clarke. Clarke's got an E. It's a YouTube channel. It'd probably be just my name. Not sure yet, but yeah, I'm in the process of sort of setting it up. I'm planning to launch it late July. It's going to be mainly Arsenal. It's going to be mainly analysis, bit of preview content. But yeah, it's not going to be clickbait sort of transfer stuff. And, I'm just going to concentrate on what I hopefully do best and sort of just give you some insights on upcoming opponents, insights on what we're doing well, what we're not doing so well, analyze the games a little bit, win, lose or draw. So hopefully it'll be all right. Hopefully people will like it and they'll subscribe and we can get it going.
There.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be there, Adrian, man. I can't wait. I watch your stuff all over everywhere. So it would make sense if you had one central hub where we could just piece together everything. So look out for that. Follow the man's socials. Everything will be in the descriptions. Adrian, appreciate you. Great way to start the Monday. Happy July in advance. I'm going to let you get out of here, man. Let us know your thoughts.
It's been a pleasure.
Let us know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe. It's always a pleasure, Adrian. In a bit, man.
See you later.
One love. Peace.